There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want.
Government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, from Charlotte, another line going from in Florida down to Tampa. Of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to the idea that Los Angeles and what am I doing here? For two reasons. The best way to get. Let's be clear. I hear it all the time. Cumulative deficit, I can play for the programs many times over.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Let me start off with two words. Made in America. Made in America.
Welcome back to another night of Shtick with Koolfrogg. I just can't not play those videos at the beginning. Playing those videos just make it so much more fun. You get to turn on a camera tonight because guess what? Tadpole's sleeping. Yeah. Not too often do I get to do that lately because, you know, it's just like he's always there. He's always trying to, you know, see what I'm doing, watching the screens. He went to bed. I'm like, oh, yes, it's going to be a great night. And then America's shirt shows up. What's up, brother?
Ooh.
How are you?
It's spooky me. I appeared. Ron DeSanctimonious is a fraud. Hi, how are you all doing this evening?
Ooh, Ron DeSanctimonious. Wow. Church is actually really not liking that guy right now. Isn't that something? Ain't that something?
He did it to himself. Sorry, you know.
What's up to Suzanne? She said that I'll be here. She said that about an hour ago. I don't know if she's still with us or not, but good to see you. Glad you're here. JMK, long time no see. Glad you're with us. Hey, Vicky, how's it going, dear? Good to see you. India Mers, hi, you. Good to see you, dear. Glad you're with us. And that looks like that's pretty much going to round out who's actually speaking with us at the moment. Looks like on that Rumble side, we got great liquor sitting there. Awesome. Great stuff. Good to see y'all. Glad you're all with us. What's this? What do you... Dark brand
Focus.
potato.
I haven't, look, I have trouble even saying to myself my own head the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly. I mean, it's just not, I haven't observed anything in terms of there's not things I don't do now that I did before, whether it's physical or mental or anything else.
I did. Yeah.
Oh my lord, so funny. I'm gonna see, that seems really small. I'm gonna see if I had a different setup or whatever, a little bit, whatever is for an individual. So let's see if I can't move this Change this a little bit. Seems as though, let's see, let's go that way. I really like how
Dark Brandon
things
doesn't
can be
think he's older
changed,
than 40.
randomly changed nowadays. He's like, you don't have to have that static form that StreamYard requires you to have, or requires you to have. You can actually create it a little bit different, move yourselves around wherever you want, kind of change things up. It's so much fun. I really like it. I really do. So, we got lots of things to speak of today. Memorial addresses. When it comes down to it, both Biden and Trump both did a memorial address. So we will actually check both of those out. We did hit on some of the debt ceiling last night. It seems as though they didn't actually sign the bill through the Senate. So it's still on the docket to actually see if they'll actually push that through or not. I do have several articles on that in particular. EU's Twitter ban, they have a few more days to maybe a month or whatever before they actually install this ban over and above all of the European Union from
Watch
Twitter.
that be removed here whenever that comes up. And it's like, oh, well, we won't actually do that because, so-and-so's on and now the CEO. So, it's fine. It's okay.
Right.
Watch.
So that should be interesting to actually read about. I do have several other things, including California wanting to legalize mushrooms. Now, I'm not against it. There's been several states that have already, done so. Oregon, Colorado. Looks like California wants to do the same thing and actually legalize the street mushrooms, whatever, and make it actually a thing. I thought they pretty much already did have some kind of legalized mushroom of sorts, but it seems as they want to actually push that even further to actually make that a big thing. Hey, Mimsy, and just Suzanne. Suzanne is here. Good to see you, dear. Glad you're with us. We're going to actually hit up these articles that I have here. Some about 15, 20 of them. There's quite a few articles sitting here. So we'll see if we can't push through them as fast as we possibly can to keep us at that 2-hour time frame. If we can, that would be the best. It's usually where I like to keep it. I don't like to go too much further over that unless I don't get sleep. And then, waking up with myself and talking trash and truth it gets more difficult to do when I don't get to sleep. So we'll see what we can do with that about getting the sleep. And I edited one, and then when it comes to the news articles, I would like to actually make it just slightly bigger. There you go. Save, update that. There you go. That looks a little bit better.
Ooh, fun say.
Yeah. So I really like how we can actually move and adjust, screens to actually make them work a little bit better. So, like I said, memorial addresses, it seems as though they both, Biden and Trump, decided to actually do some kind of a memorial address towards the people for, for this this holiday that it is. I realize you're over on that East Coast. It would have ended within the last 15 minutes or whatever for the day to actually end. So it's it's interesting in itself. I really had a good day when it come to it being Memorial Day. A lot of people were actually understand nowadays that Memorial Day isn't about actually partying, drinking, grilling, thinking that it's the first day of summer. It's actually for a day of remembrance, and it seems as though that's been forgotten. Stores aren't shuttering like they used to or whatever for it. They stay open to make that almighty dollar with this huge percentage point off of off prices and whatnot. So it is what it is. So this this fool here, Biden, this potato, decided that he wanted to actually have a quite the lengthy speech. He gave like a good half-hour speech this morning. It was really kind of hard to actually listen to. So we're not going to listen to it. We're going to read about it instead. So it says President Joe Biden paid tribute to fallen service members during the Memorial Day address at Arlington National Cemetery, saying that they had made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom and for our future. Once again, we stand amid the rows and rows of marble stones and bear witness to the brave women and men who served and sacrificed for our freedom and our future. And he said it exactly like that. Not men and women, women and men. He had to make sure that he actually virtue signaled that to actually make sure that everybody understood that he's actually putting the women before the men that have served and sacrificed. You know, so, I mean, I don't really care how he actually puts it. I really don't, other than the fact that that's what he exactly did. And he made sure to actually push it that way, to actually, you know, virtue signal as he does. The president began his remarks by recalling the first Memorial Day speech delivered by retired Union General James Garfield at Arlington Cemetery in 1868. Now, early this morning, we went through a lot of this. We actually went through the history of Memorial Day and actually gave our thoughts and opinions on all of that. As far as, you know, the first Memorial Day speech being in 1868 given by James Garfield, yeah, that was Memorial Day, but they also always forget where Memorial Day actually started from and where it actually came from, and how long before that it actually was a thing known as Decoration Day shortly thereafter the Civil War. It is what it is, and it's still interesting. They call me Rose. Hello, dear. Good to see you. So this is 155 years ago. Retired Union General James Garfield spoke here at Arlington, marking our nation's first Memorial Day, Biden said. Standing amid the rows and rows of marble stones, many of his own fallen soldiers among them, he asked, what brought these men here? What high motive led them to welcome death? Joe Biden was actually in the audience when he actually gave the speech.
Duh.
Okay, he is with me. I'm just being sure that shirts with
mourning the loss of the South. Plotting to take out Abe Lincoln, allegedly.
More than 1 million men and women have died while serving in the military since Civil War began in 1861. The Civil War was the highest number of U.S. casualties of any war, with at least 500,000 killed, according to the estimates of the U.S. Census Bureau. Biden reminded Americans of the importance of remembering fallen service members. We must never forget the lives these flags, flowers, and marble markers represent: a mother, a father, a son, a daughter, a sister, a spouse, a friend, and America. Every year we remember, and every year it never gets easier, he said. During his speech, Biden also remembered his son, Beau. Every single time that he gives a speech about service members, he feels the need to bring up his son, Beau, because he says that his son, Beau, is a veteran and former federal prosecutor or whatever, and this, that, and the other. He did not die in service. Yes, we should remember him for what he had done, you know, and actually been part of the service, unlike his dad, who actually, you know, draft dodged with, you know, his use of asthma, you know, saying that he couldn't actually do such a thing, you know. So, I mean, point fingers however you want, point fingers at one, point fingers at the other. Trump had bone spurs, Biden had asthma. Neither one of them were part of the military. In my opinion, to become the commander-in-chief of all military would make me think that you should actually have held some type of military service beforehand. I'm kind of, against either anybody actually running for, this particular office without actually running and being part of military service. Now, you can actually, unlike Hunter's dishonorable discharge, unlike Hunter's dishonorable discharge, Bo actually, was a veteran and, and actually did, die from, cancer years later that they actually kind of said was linked to possible burn pits. So I mean, there's things to go along with it, but yet still, Joe Biden can't keep Bo out of his mouth. He needs to actually signal him as much as he possibly can over
Because it's the
and
only
over again.
decent looking thing that's come out of the Biden family in the past 100 years. So, you got to try to get the jewel that's tiny and just out of the pile of horse crap and be like, oh my God, look, it's so beautiful. It's like, it's just a tiny piece of quartz rock that fell off some limestone gravel over there in the corner, but it just fell in the pile of crap. It's like, oh, but look, that means it's all beautiful. That means this is where all of the shiny things come from, is a pile of crap, aka the Biden family. That's literally what's happening here.
Right. So then, as I said, he does nothing but actually, speak of his son Bo when it comes to military. He doesn't really actually, speak of all military members as being, something similar to each other. He always pushes his son up and says, this is my son, and this, he's the one that we should actually be looking at. This
By
is
the way,
tomorrow
scroll
marks.
up to his quote that he said about these are fallen. These are this family member, this family member, this family member that he listed.
Oh, we'll
just
get
above
there.
this. Well, you already read it off.
Go back to it.
Yeah,
This one here.
look at what
Mother,
he says.
a
Right?
father, a son, a daughter, a sister, a spouse,
A mother,
friend, and America.
a mother. Are you kidding me?
The marble markers. I mean, there are. I would assume some women, mothers that are actually part of those that are buried. That's what he's signaling, is those that are actually buried in these massive cemeteries. The marble markers represent a mother, a father, a son, a daughter, a sister, a spouse, a friend, and America.
I mean, I don't know. This just sounds like some woke-tarded nonsense to me. Because, are you kidding me? A mother? We're not sending, in World War II, they didn't send the mothers out to, be in the service. If any mother served, if any woman served, it would have been behind the lines. It would have been doing some sort of, nurse work or doing some other work on,
But you have to remember,
days,
this isn't
paperwork.
just for World War II or the Civil War. This is actually for all wars. So, Iraq, Afghanistan, these more recent ones.
But
there are women.
I mean, think about it though.
That's why he's
does the
way he
military
is.
actually, except for the modern day, super modern day, when Joe Biden got in, because now they're having pregnant suits, suits for pregnant women in freaking Air Force, in the Air Force, for them to be able to fly.
Right?
I mean, it's did anybody did the military sit there and be like, oh, you're a mother of this many people and you're pregnant and what is it this just seems like another underedge, because it says mother first thing, right? You would think that,
he
I don't know,
he has to put it that way, because
and daughters would be first
last...
and foremost, because it's the younger people without children generally.
But he has to, because like he did on the previous comments or whatever, he said women and men.
Right, exactly. So this
so
is just another.
He's not going to say fathers and mothers. He's going to say mothers and fathers. So he's signaling either way, the way he wants it to be, the way Democrats are forcing it to be. So
right,
he didn't write this, right?
Pregnant women in the military.
He didn't write this. If this was not his,
of course not.
Words. This was
Joe Biden
somebody
can't
else
take a
writing
crap by
this
himself. I mean, of course he didn't write this.
Right. He couldn't even write it about his own son. He needed to have somebody else write it for him. There's no way. Just go by a VA hospital and see the female vets that are amputees, watch them hug their babies. Yeah. And that's why, that's why I say some of them are mothers. And I get what you're saying is it wasn't always that way, but most recently it's changed to being that way off the last few wars. So tomorrow marks 8 years since we lost our son, Bo. Our losses are not the same. He didn't perish on the battlefield. It was cancer that stole him from us a year after he was deployed as a major in the United States Army National Guard in Iraq. As it is for many of you, the pain and loss is with us every day, but particularly sharp on Memorial Day. But really,
Correction.
Memorial Day is the
is
day
for the
that
fallen
actually,
soldiers that gave their lives, not
right?
for someone who,
Not for somebody that's been discharged and actually passed being a civilian.
Right. Like, I mean, we have Veterans Day, but like Memorial Day is for, again, memorials. Like it's literally
for
in
the
the name.
remembrance of those that have fallen during.
It is a day of
war.
remembrance of the fallen, to memorialize them.
Right. So I really don't like his speech all in all, because that's all he does is he always brings up his son Bo. He's like, oh, Bo this, oh, Bo that. Oh, well, go fuck yourself. And what's actually, speak of, those that have actually, served this country properly, and, actually remember those that had fallen on the battlefield, instead of remembering somebody that didn't fall on the battlefield, but, for whatever reason in your head, just so happens to be the person that you want to actually look at. It says, since he took office, Biden said he has passed more than 25 bipartisan laws to support our service members, their families, caregivers, and survivors. Bipartisan, huh? Yeah, I want to see how bipartisan those really were, because it seems as there's an awful lot that's been passed lately that hadn't not been bipartisan, but they like to label it that way to make it sound like, oh, yeah, everybody's on board with that. Okay, all's good. The 155th National Memorial Day ceremony began with a traditional wreath-laying ceremony. Biden was accompanied by First Lady Jill Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and her husband, Douglas Emhoff, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, and Chairman of Joint Chiefs, the pansy Mark Milley himself.
By the way, can you scroll back up to that picture just so we can see these people's faces real quick? Like, can we just look at this? Like, okay. So there's Joe Biden. Look at his face. Look at that face.
Kamala.
Okay, look at Kamala Harris. And look at Lloyd Austin. Okay.
Austin,
by the way, Lloyd Austin
Milley.
went from being a military general to going to freaking crap. What was it? Raytheon, the board. He was the board of Raytheon, and then goes right back into being the head of the Pentagon. That is the face of the person that wants to send all of these other people to go die in a war in Russia for no damn reason in the world. That's the face of that man. He wants to fill that place up with more people. That's why I can't take any of these people whenever they say like, oh, we pay respects for whatever. You literally want people to go and get killed for no reason at all, for conflict that has literally nothing at all to do with us at all whatsoever. Nothing. Nothing. And you just want us to unnecessarily keep sacrificing people and keep filling the place up so you make money, and then you can pontificate to the rest of us about how sad you are. Bull crap. So this if you could scroll back up to that just once more.
I know that
look
each
at those
Memorial Day. Hold on, let me finish the paragraph and then we can scroll. This is. I know that each Memorial Day brings new waves of both pride and pain. Austin said during his speech, "Every fallen hero has a story. It is our duty to remember those we have lost." Now they omitted most of almost anything that he had to say, because that was the only point that was actually worth a damn. Everything else that he had said was worthless, pointless trash.
So that's the face of people who want to send your sons and daughters and possibly yourselves to go fight and die and then fill these graveyards up more so they can make money off of it. And they can get more power and control off of it, they think. Anyway. and then they can pontificate to you about how holier than thou they are than you. That's what
Look at
this
his
is.
look at his face.
Oh yeah, he can't
Looks
even like control his facial expressions half the time. Like, does anybody remember when they were
Like
bringing
something
back the
stinks
servicemen?
really bad or something, and he's like, oh, I can
It's
smell
probably
her.
Kamala, but but like, I mean, Lloyd Austin doesn't look too comfortable standing next to her either. So like, but at any rate, I mean, but I mean, like, does anybody remember Joe Biden too? Whenever they sent back the deceased, killed service members in Afghanistan, that after they tried to have this crazy withdrawal, they died from suicide bombers by the airport because they told them to go right up to it. And then a bunch of other people that they said, oh yeah, wait by the gates. And they knew that there were terrorists there. And they killed like, what was it? Like over 100 Christians that were waiting to board flight and leave so they didn't get killed. And then they told them to wait right where the bombs were going off. You mean that Joe Biden administration? And then when these servicemen come back, their bodies come back, Joe Biden keeps checking his watch every 5 seconds, like, gee, what else do I have better to do? And then he comes here, and then he's like, I can't take these people seriously at all. Because they're not serious, because they don't give a damn about us or the fallen. They're jokes. They're pieces of garbage. So anyways,
Right?
they're trying to
That's
destroy
exactly what they
all
are.
of us and
Pieces
try to
of-
put pregnant women in Air Force planes to
and
kill them and their child, I guess.
Trump kind of gives some
So there's more
forewarning.
women
Did you
dying on
watch
battlefield.
Trump's speech today?
No, I didn't get a chance to today.
Okay, I didn't know if you did. As you can see, Suzanne saying, I had tears of respect and pride watching President Trump today. And that little boy dressed in his daddy's uniform. The boy never knew his dad because he was 8 months old when his dad had died, but mom had it. So, it was very emotional for sure. It was very interesting to actually see Donald Trump actually go to the point of what he did and the difference. And the reason that I have it marked as memorial addresses is because we've seen what Joe Biden did and how he was signaling and what he was actually speaking of, talking about his son as opposed to actually worrying about everybody else. And then you actually see where Trump actually goes. And that's the reason that I have it marked the way I do as memorial addresses, because they both addressed the people and they both had totally different ways about how they actually went about doing any of this. So then here you go. Trump warns the U.S. is in peril in Memorial Day message. So it says former President Trump wished a happy Memorial Day to Americans, but warned that United States is in great peril due to individuals he said are working from within the government to destroy the country. Trump said via his social media platform, Truth Social, that the country has never been in greater peril than it is right now, and called for the supporters to help him stop the communists, Marxists, and fascist pigs at every turn and make America great again. The former commander-in-chief added that he sends warm regards, especially to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for the country they love, to those in line for a very different but equally dangerous fire, stopping the threats of the terrorists, misfits, and lunatic thugs who are working feverishly from within to overturn and destroy our once great country. Several weeks ago, Trump issued a similar message when he wished a happy Easter to the weak and pathetic rhinos, referring to Republicans in name only, and radical left Democrats, socialists, Marxists, and communists. Happy Easter to all, including those that dream endlessly of destroying our country because they are incapable of dreaming about anything else, Trump said on Truth Social. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, the former president's top rival for Republican 2024 presidential nomination, offered his own comments on Memorial Day earlier on Monday. The governor indicated that he believes the U.S. military had veered too far to the left and indicated that he would make sweeping changes if he's elected. DeSantis also praised the United States as a great country built on great values, but
Wow.
said that the U.S. Constitution doesn't run on autopilot if you don't have people throughout history willing to put on the uniform, risk their lives, and indeed give the last full measure of devotion. He added, and so today is the day to reflect on those that made the ultimate sacrifice, because if you don't have people that are willing to do that, then you really can't have a free society. As for Trump, he released a video several weeks ago indicating that he would attempt to purge the U.S. of left-wing or Marxist district attorneys days after he was indicted by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office for allegedly falsifying business records in connection to the payments made in the 2016 election. If elected, the former president said he would also name 100 U.S. attorneys who would support his agenda. As we completely overhaul the Federal Department of Justice and FBI, we will also launch sweeping civil rights investigations into Marxist local district attorneys, Trump said in the mid-April video posted on his YouTube page. And that's what we have. They are Marxists in many cases. Other 2024 candidates such as Tim Scott, who announced his presidential bid earlier this month, and former UN ambassador Nikki Haley also offered remarks on Memorial Day.
Oh, God.
Right. So, everybody really had something to say, supposedly, and that's where they wanted to go. So then over 1.3 million Americans have lost their lives in the service of a greater cause. Today, let us not only reflect, but let us be emboldened by their sacrifice. Let us live each and every day as the way of saying thank you to the men and women we've never met. Our responsibility is to live our lives as Americans because the price is too high for us to live anything else than our very best, Scott said in a video clip on Twitter.
Okay, did he get that from like a freaking Hallmark card or something? Like, what the heck is that? I'm sorry. People say that at like freaking Christmas time when they say Happy Holidays. Like, what is this?
I kind of like this guy, this Scott guy. He's actually kind of he's straightforward, and he'll actually tell you how he actually feels as opposed to tiptoeing around and dancing around the issues. He kind of goes straight for it. So I'm not saying that I'm really like for him to be president right now, but I kind of like the guy as a person, so he's but yeah, like you said, kind of Hallmarky, like his own words were kind of
like he was sitting there watching Hallmark
fluffed.
Channel with his wife, crying when the end scene when like the snow falls and like they start kissing or whatever, and he's just like, oh, this is beautiful. Let's have this as like the Memorial Day, whatever, because because this stupid freaking like Hallmark Lifetime movies, they always like show this stupid Christmas crap like all the time or whatever. I don't freaking like. My mother is always like, oh my God. So like, yeah, so that's what he was doing. And he was sitting around, he was crying about it. And he was just like, you know what? This would be beautiful to put in there. And so that's what he put.
Shiloh Mang, what's up, dear? Good to see you. And Haley wrote that blessings come with the price paid by so many brave men and women in our military. Let's honor them today and every day with the greater gift, teaching our kids to love America. We don't have to be Rome. We don't have to be Carthage. We're just a little guy, GOP candidate Vivek Ramaswamy posted Monday. So every single person had something to fucking say. Going through our version of adolescence, figuring out who we really are as we grow up. I'm confident we'll be even stronger for it. Happy Memorial Day.
I mean, at least that was unique and intelligent. Like every other person except like, Trump was just like, some freaking like Hallmark card or like some freaking, Like, give a nice, pretty sounding read off. Like, at least his was like halfway intelligent, albeit like it's a little out of touch. But like,
the interesting one is when you actually look into Vivek Ramaswamy, as interesting as it is, it seems as though Trump actually likes Vivek Ramaswamy.
I'm thinking that Vivek is actually running for administrative seat inside of the Trump next administration. That's what I'm thinking. I think that's the goal
exactly.
here. I think he just wants
Trump's going to take
seat.
if Trump hopefully takes this or whatever. Watch for Vivek. Watch for him to actually be part of something bigger here in the near future when it comes to 2024. Just my thoughts and opinions. I really don't know if it's actually going to happen, but we can all hope and pray and actually vote for
Vivek
the way we actually want
Ramaswamy
it to happen.
went ham on the district attorney of New York that was going after Trump, trying to extradite him from Florida for bogus bullcrap, more so than DeSantis did, by far.
Right.
DeSantis being the governor who has every right to say no to that and protect his own citizens that are there, aka Donald Trump, but he says, no, we're not getting involved. So in other words, they can just come and do whatever they want. And then Vivek Ramaswamy was actually defending him. So, hey, who's more likely to get into the next Trump administration for some, for one thing or another, I wonder,
Hello, Rabbit, and hello, Nix. Good to see you both. Glad you're here. So it says future events. Trump announced his third run for the White House after the 2022 midterms concluded in November. He is slated to hold a town hall event with Fox News' Sean Hannity on June 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So, I'm sure we'll be paying attention to that come the next few days here as Pride Month gears up into it. We'll be watching this.
Oh yeah, did anybody notice that like all the Sean Hannity clips, there's a giant audience because they have to make it seem like as though Sean Hannity's the big shtick and he's the big deal, right? And then Tucker leaves and it's like, but that's okay because we got
I'm part of the million people that have not tuned into Fox News since Tucker Carlson's been yeeted.
They've lost like over half their audience.
Yeah,
like
million. They figure over 1 million people have walked away from Fox News. That's their projected numbers. It's amazing. I'm like, oh, that's a lot. It comes after he rallied against Fox News after the network parted ways with former host Tucker Carlson late April and said it focuses too much on DeSantis, who announced his presidential bid last Wednesday. Just moments after DeSantis launched his bid on Twitter with CEO Elon Musk, he held an interview with Trey Gowdy during the Fox News Tonight, which airs during the 8 p.m. time slot that was once occupied by Carlson.
By the way, since we're going over these different topics, things or whatever from this article, can I just say about that? I actually got to listen to the whole thing of DeSantis's failed launch. It was so bad. It was so terrible. It was 20 minutes of complete radio silence. Unbelievable. And then they're just like, oh, well, like he's melting the servers or whatever. Like, I cannot believe this. This is supposed to be the Twitterverse. This is supposed to be, oh my God, he has all these good people in there now. He's kicked all these dumb people out. How many months has he been in charge of Twitter and he can't get anything up off the ground? Musk can't, for one thing. And then number two, like, who the freaking crap? Like, DeSantis hides behind some avatar on Twitter to announce his presidency. And then, like, Musk is like, this is really good because, like, we need to have more presidential candidates, talk and be addressing, to the people, says the billionaire oligarch that gets all of his funding from the United States federal government and the military-industrial complex. Okay. You're like the average citizen asking DeSantis a question. Sure, says the person wearing a Satan outfit that says, I'm the champion of the devil. But whatever. Like, and he still hasn't taken it off, by the way. How many months has it been, people?
Target.
So, like, I mean, so that whole thing was a giant crap show, and pardon my French, but Steve Bannon calls it the Ron de Shit show. Like, because that's all it is at this point. Like, he can't even, are you kidding me? He can't come to the public and put out a video stating that this is who I am, this is my goal, this is this. He has to hide behind an avatar.
See, I'm kind of surprised you're still paying attention.
Like he's on a
to Fox
Discord
News.
call,
Really?
reading it off like some teleprompter, and he's not even showing his face. Like, what the heck? And then he goes to Trey Gowdy, this rhino wacko who claimed that he was going to do all this stuff and then never did, and then just ended up tucking his tail between his legs, leaving Congress, and then becomes a Fox News contributor, and then takes over for a program or whatever. Like, wow, you go to that guy. You go to that guy for your interview. Notice he didn't go to Tucker Carlson at all. He didn't ask Tucker Carlson anything. Oh, but that, but hey, like he doesn't ask anybody else. Oh, by the way, and then his other interview he does, it's over the radio with like Buck Sexton, some CIA wacko, and then his other, person that filled the slot of the great Rush Limbaugh, which is such a disgrace to freaking, oh God, what's the name? What's the name of the Salem Radio that they do everything on? I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, the network Salem Radio that they do everything on. That there's like the 3:00 hour that Rush Limbaugh was on, and like just disgusting. They throw the CIA guy in. And then, oh, well, like, here's Ron DeSanctimonious comes in. He's like, whatever. I'm like, he's not going to do, like, a public address. He's just going to sit behind a desk with somebody giving him a speech to read off. And he doesn't even sound authentic at all. Like, it was just a disaster. And the thing couldn't even work. And everything was bugged out. And then they had to kick out all the people. And they ended up left with, like, it was like 80,000 because they kicked everybody else out. Like, it was a disaster.
Nick says, speaking of surrendering, your French has been pardoned shirts.
Oh, well, thank you.
Good night, Rabbit. Sleep well, dear. We'll see you in the morning.
Oh, later.
So then they're desperately pushing DeSanctimonious, who regardless is dropping like a rock. Trump said in his recent post on Truth Social, Fox News has become the DeSanctimonious network, but it will never work because he doesn't have the goods. Polls have shown that DeSantis is lagging behind Trump by about 30 percentage points, but the governor is easily beating out the likes of Haley, Scott Ramaswamy, and radio host Larry
Oh
Elder.
my God. Really? Did they actually just say that? Are you kidding me? Like,
They are
DeSanctimonious is beating out everybody else because everybody else is literally 1% or 0.3%, and DeSanctimonious is like 12% at this point. Wow! Oh my God! He's beating the like it's such a joke. Like what the like wow, like why are they even taking these gremlin elves seriously, these rhino gremlin elves that want to try to come up and be like, oh, I could beat President Trump and do better than him? But how exactly? Well, I'm more positive. I'm a woman. Like, it's just so insane. Like it's like, wow, they got like 0.001% of the vote, man. But DeSantis is beating them by 0.00025%. Like, I just can't even.
Oh no,
It's so insane.
Seem to have actually lost the video of his speech.
Well, where'd it go? Gotta be around here somewhere.
Sure.
Those weapons of mass destruction, they're here someplace. And the table, nope. It says George Bush.
Okay, there it is. And this is Trump. This is Trump, and it's actually produced over PBS. This is not in any way, shape, or form us actually saying that we believe anything that this guy says. We're just simply watching the video to actually hear what he actually did have to say. I found it. I had to actually go dig for it again. It's a 20-minute thing, so we're gonna try allowing it to play through. We may speak over the top of it. Just saying.
David Bernhardt, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, Congressman Andy Harris, and a number of service members and veterans of the armed forces. The dignity, daring, and devotion of the American military is unrivaled anywhere in history and any place in the world. In recent months, our nation and the world have been engaged in a new form of battle against an invisible enemy. Once more, the men and women of the United States military have answered the call to duty and raced into danger. Tens of thousands of service members and National Guardsmen are on the front lines of our war against this terrible virus, caring for patients, delivering critical supplies, and working night and day to safeguard our citizens. As
I think this is
we
an
mourn alongside
older one. Because he's talking about Koof. 2
Oh, this
years
is
ago,
supposed
3
to be-
years ago.
Oh, this is 3 years ago. Son of a bitch. Where the hell? Why did they? Where did it go?
Can we show something from
So
Truth Social?
upsetting. Oh, here it is. I had to actually from today. Okay, from today. That's upsetting. Sorry, y'all. We're just kind of gonna boomer through all this as we go. Not a big deal, right? Trump compares the political battles of fallen troops and sacrifices in Memorial Day of rant. This should actually have. It doesn't. It doesn't have the video. They've eliminated the video. They removed that video from being searched for as much as they possibly could, because they don't want us to actually hear what he had to actually say. So, former president and current GOP candidate Donald Trump commemorated Memorial Day by comparing his battles against fascist pigs and lunatic thugs. For more than 1 million U.S. soldiers have died in the battlefield, Trump, 76, took the Truth Social platform to deliver the maniacal, all-caps rant Monday morning. Happy Memorial Day to all. It began using the phrase that many think is inappropriate to mark the somber day of national remembrance. The message continued with a 63-word sentence that alluded to his failed attempts to overturn said elections, but especially to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for the country they love, and for those in line of very different but equally dangerous fires, stopping the threats of terrorists, misfits, and lunatic thugs who are working feverishly from within to overturn and destroy our once great country, which has never been a greater peril than it is right now. We must stop the communists, Marxists, and fascist pigs at every turn and make America great again. Again, they're destroying his speech. Where the frick is his damn speech? I'm so angry right now.
I mean,
had
maybe
all
he
this
just
stuff
released a statement.
bookmarked and I'm using it.
Yeah, he just released a
No.
statement from True Social. Yeah, I'm looking.
No, because there was something where he actually goes and he visits with a child wearing his father's uniform, and it was very sad. And that's why I'm like, this is not right. What did they do to it? This shows proof on how much they hate Trump. They hate him, hate him, hate him.
Oh, here we go.
So upsetting.
I found it. Let me see here if I can pull this up. Let me see. Is he going to show the whole thing? I don't know if he shows the whole thing here. I was looking at Benny Johnson's thing, and he had it there. Oh wait, what the heck?
Benny
He
Johnson.
just showed
Benny
the clip of the
Johnson
kid.
can't be shown on YouTube. They took him out. They said no. They don't want him there.
could have the video.
Yeah, that's so upsetting. What the fuck? Buried. Completely and totally buried. Removed from being able to actually being viewed at ease. They're just like, nope, we don't want to actually show that because it's actually very sad and heart wrenching when you actually seen what he did with this child that was wearing his dad's outfit or whatever, his uniform from the military. It really seriously, I had that video, and that's why I'm like, where the hell is the video? Why is it being removed? Why are they actually taking anything that Trump has to say away from us, is in disallowing us to actually watch or hear anything that he has to say over and over again? It's so sad and disturbing to actually see our rights actually being trampled on by those that just don't care. By those that just don't care. They want to actually eliminate anything that he has to say. That's so disturbing.
Here we go. Got it.
I'm like,
it's a minute long. This isn't the speech that he gave, but this is him at let me see if I can pull it up to get it to become bigger here. Pull it up here.
It was really something to actually see.
Now this is on Truth Social. Can I still show that?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, I just zoomed it up here. And this is from the account of Citizens Free Press. They're really good. I highly recommend. Let's see here. Does that look okay? Can everybody see that pretty well? Ish. Can I make this full screen?
Once you hit the play button, it should actually give you an option to make that a full screen, and then it would just fill up just the web page.
There.
Right here, Chris.
This is him. Yeah, and a lady gave me this. And here's a picture of him. Here's the pictures of him. Is that you? I'm that's me and the baby. And that's him. And that's him. And it's
Good looking guy. Good dad. Great dad, right?
this is where I threw rice on my mom and dad. This is where I threw rice on them.
That's where they threw rice, huh? What a boy. What a boy, huh? Absolutely. He's got
DJ has a law firm.
Father would be so proud of you.
That's so
Can you salute him? Salute the president. Put this way. Okay, sweetie? Work hard. Take care of mom.
Hey, Tim.
Yes, Mom. We're not going to have popcorn.
So there we go. So that was that.
Okay, that's better. It made me feel better.
Now
That been digging and just
was from. I'm pretty sure that this was from obviously because Pence is right there. This is from previously, but I think it went viral again just because it's Memorial Day. I think a lot of people were sharing that around because Biden would never Biden would be like sniffing the child and like, touching the child in weird ways. But so they obviously had to keep him away from children that day.
Right.
But I
They're like,
think
no,
that
no
because
children for you.
exactly, right? Like, it's like, okay, this is Memorial Day. You're running for president again, Joe. Like, we can't, can't be doing this here.
Jeez, we're an hour into this already. Damn.
Yeah, here it is. Citizens Free Press. It says one of Trump's best moments at Memorial Day. So yeah, it was moments. So it's past tense. So this was from previous administration when he was visiting there. But that just shows you who he is. Like, he's real. Like, he'll go right up to people and just like, look right at him. He doesn't have a planned speech. He doesn't do like whatever. It's not even super formal, really. I mean, he just sees the kid, the kid gets together, like, everybody's there. And, then he goes with the son that's there of the fallen soldier wearing the uniform there and telling the president all about his dad, all that he knows. So, yeah, I mean, that shows a difference from someone who wants to go to war and constantly cause all this stuff, pontificating to you about how sad it is, but we just need to do it, whatever, to Trump actually giving a crap. So, yeah, so that was from previous administration. But, people just kept sharing it around in a lot of places because it just kind of shows you who he is.
Okay, so let's kick it up here. There's so much to actually go through. We're not going to get all of this done. You can see all the tabs that are open at the very top there. Those are all tabs of something that I had something to say something about today. So I really doubt that we're going to get through all of it. Senator McConnell urges Senate to pass McCarthy's debt deal. McCarthy says that the student loan payment pause is gone under the new deal, which is fine. It should have never actually been something there anyway. I don't agree with it, though I still owe student loans myself. I disagree that everybody else should have to pay for my bills when it comes down to it. So it says Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell called for the Senate to pass a debt deal that is brokered by House Speaker and White House, urging that the United States cannot default. The United States of America will not default on its debt, McConnell said on the Sunday after President Joe Biden and Speaker Kevin McCarthy announced the deal. Today's agreement makes urgent progress towards preserving our nation's full faith and credit and a much-needed step toward getting its financial house in order. I'm especially grateful for Speaker McCarthy and House Republicans for their work to ensure that a debt limit increase comes with the serious steps to rein in Washington Democrats' addiction to reckless spending. He added that this is all McConnell. This is all McConnell speaking. So he says he added the agreement that Speaker reached the President Biden sets meaningful limits on the administration's spending agenda. At the same time, it secures permitting reforms and reinforcing the link between federal assistance and work. But McConnell's statement comes after Senator Mike Lee, Rand Paul, and several other GOP lawmakers said they wouldn't block the measure. They noted that McCarthy's deal would include a reported $4 trillion raise to the debt ceiling over the next 2 years. In an interview Sunday, McCarthy cast the deal as a win for Republicans and a loss for Democrats, as Republican lawmakers said the spending cuts don't go far enough. Right now, the Democrats are very upset. The one thing Hakeem Jeffries told me, there is nothing in the bill for them. There's not one thing in the bill for Democrats, McCarthy during a Fox News Sunday interview. Senator Ted Cruz, Republican out of Texas, said that there's not one thing for Dems. There are $4 trillion things, a blank check for Democrats, plus 87,000 things, new IRS agents to harass Americans. So, that's not off the board either. all in exchange for eliminating virtually all of the House's spending cuts. Cruz wrote in a tweet Sunday, and Lee, for instance, wrote that he would use every procedural tool at my disposal to impede a debt ceiling deal that doesn't contain substantial spending and budgetary reforms. The deal announced over the past weekend was agreed to in principle by the White House and McCarthy. It still needs to pass the House and the Senate. Loans impacted. McCarthy said that the House will vote on the legislation Wednesday, giving the Senate time to consider it before June 5th, which is Friday, the date when Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said the United States would default in the debt obligations if lawmakers did not act in time. As part of the deal, the pause on student loan payments that was enacted during the COVID pandemic is now gone as the U.S. Supreme Court hears a case challenging the policy. The pause is gone within 60 days of the being signed, so that is another victory because the brings up in $5 billion each month to the American public. What the president did, he went unconstitutionally and said he is going to waive certain people part of their debt for student loans, but then he paused everybody's student loan. So everybody who borrowed a student loan within 60 days of the signing is going to have to pay that back. Other details. The agreement would keep non-defense spending roughly flat in the 2024 fiscal year and increase it by 1% the following year, as well as suspend the debt limit until January 2025. Past the next presidential election for the next fiscal year, the bill matches Biden's proposed defense budget of $886 billion and allots $704 billion for non-defense spending. The bill also requires Congress to approve 12 annual spending bills or face a snapback in spending limits from the previous year, which would mean 1% cut. The legislation aims to limit federal budget growth to 1% for the next 6 years, but that provision would not be enforceable starting in 2025. Republicans targeted money that the IRS was allotted last year to crack down on tax fraud. The bill bites into some IRS funding, rescinding $1.4 billion. The announcement came after Yellen last week announced that the federal government won't be able to pay its bills unless Congress raises the ceiling by January 5th. According to a letter she wrote to members of Congress on May 26, the Treasury will make scheduled payments of more than $130 billion on June 1st and 2nd, which include payments to veterans, she wrote. If Congress fails to increase the debt limit, it would cause severe hardship on American families, harm our global leadership position, and raise questions about our ability to defend our national security interests. I continue to urge Congress to protect the full faith and the credit of the United States by acting as soon as possible. Since the federal government hit the borrowing cap in January, the Treasury Department has been forced to rely on extraordinary measures to pay its bills until the debt ceiling is raised or suspended. The trillions of dollars that they want to actually expand this to, it seems like it is, for whatever reason, very, very tremendous, and why they keep on wanting to actually pay off people's student loans for them to only have the debt go even further is very, it's hard to actually understand and why they would actually want to go as far as they are to go ahead and push $4 trillion for the next 2 years as a debt limit. I just don't get why we keep on thinking it's okay to go ahead and extend the debt limit the way we have been. I mean, I get it. You don't want to default, apparently, but we're never going to get it paid off.
And it's so insane. Like Mitch McConnell's like, wow, 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 wow. The Democrats are, reckless spending. Democrats reckless spending, Mitch McConnell? Mitch McConnell. Really? Really? Democrats reckless spending? Because you were there the entire time cheering on every freaking thing that came across that was spending. Now all of a sudden you're like, wow, we need to spending our house in order. Screw you. Go back to a Kentucky river and it's like snap up some fish, you snapping turtle freak. You freak face. You freaky turtle hybridized creature. Like go back to the wilderness of Kentucky someplace.
Right?
Crawl back into the hole. Crawl back in your shell. What are you doing out of your shell, you wacko?
Yeah, I get it. His Mitch McConnell's is a little weak. It's just a little bit. You see Nick's, he's 3 out of 10 on your Mitch McConnell shirts.
I mean, hey, I try. I try, okay?
Yeah, you try. You did.
President, you said at the beginning that the debt ceiling was not negotiable. Isn't that what you've just done here? And isn't that
You guys, look, we're not negotiating the debt ceiling. Here's the deal. They passed the debt ceiling, and they said they'd only do it on condition that it have all these cuts in it. I said, I'm not going to do that. You pass the debt ceiling, period. I'll negotiate with you on the cuts. What you say, what's going to happen, what the budget's going to look like. That's what we are negotiating in order to get to them deciding that they're going to go along with a new debt ceiling, meaning that it's not attached. It's something totally different attached than was attached before. So if you want to try to make it look like I made some compromise in the debt ceiling, I didn't. I made a compromise on the budget.
That's what they wanted, is you to make a compromise on the budget, and that's what you've done, even though you haven't gone as far as they wanted. Isn't that right?
Sure, yeah. Well, can you think of an alternative?
Can you think of an alternative?
I don't see myself as being any older than a fly.
But so it basically comes down to he's like, I'm not going to compromise on debt ceiling. I didn't compromise on the debt ceiling. I just went ahead and I compromised on the budget. Okay, what's the fucking difference?
Well, you see, as well. You guys use programs many times over.
What's the difference? There isn't one. There isn't a difference.
I can't hit the thing where it says I'm sick and tired of smart guys. Where's that?
I know you can't. I took this back down to the $25 version because there's so many things with the StreamYard that I was paying for that I don't use. So
well, I do.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
There it is. Thank you. Okay, I'm satisfied.
Welcome. I can put it back in there for for as far as that goes. It's just I can't have two. I can only have one person in there. So it's kind of I took everybody out of it and it's like we'll just take it away from everybody for temporarily. Good news, we're safe now, Frog. Canada is free for another day. How do we pay off trillions at this point? We don't. It's never going to happen. It's never going to get paid off at all in any way, shape, or form. There's zero things that they can do to actually get that to actually happen.
It's a literal Ponzi scheme. There's no intent to pay it off. Like there's no intent.
But what's increased the ceiling, which change the budget out every few years or whatever to make it sound like we're attempting to actually pay our bills, when we're not paying our bills.
See, they're not like they won't try anything screwy with like a default or anything like that until they get their central bank digital currency up and rolling and they can start to like bring everything down. Then they'll be like, oh, okay, well then let's let everything really take the downturn now, right? Like, they're trying to control the collapse here. Again,
What's
the Great
up, Michael
Reset.
Hagen? How you doing, brother? It's simple. Too much government spending solution. Less government. $3 trillion cut per year till balance. I mean, you can try. I just don't see it actually happening. I really don't. Put a stream
Because there's also
marker in
existing
there.
debts and things too, like
Right.
it's not just simply spending.
So
Like
then,
we loan to other people into us.
like I
it's all
said,
this.
I don't know if we're going to get all of this done. I have an awful lot going here. Iowa governor signs a bill to loosen child labor laws. Oh, because, that makes sense. Thanks, Kim Reynolds. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds signed a bill on May 26 to loosen child labor laws by allowing under 18-year-olds to work longer hours on school nights and in expanded roles, including serving alcohol in bars and restaurants. The Republican governor signed Senate File 542 after it was approved by legislature earlier in May with only Republican support. Why would the Republicans support this? Why would they allow this to actually be a thing? Why would they even think that it's okay for them to actually allow children to work harder, longer hours, when they're just going to be sleeping in school? They're not going to actually get an education the way they need it. Stop.
I mean,
telling
like
these
if
kids
we
that they
reform
need
the
to
schools
work.
a little more too, I mean that also affects things. So I mean, it's the whole kit and caboodle. But as you say, I mean, like you just can't do this and then just be like, oh yeah, sure, like they're gonna pass with flying colors. Of course they're not.
Right. Of course they're not. I'm proof. I was one of those kids that actually worked at the age of 14 and had jobs all the way through, school or whatever. And I have a GED. I passed the 98th percentile, but damn well, the going to school to get an actual diploma was not going to fucking happen. I was too busy working a job instead of actually paying attention to my schoolwork. My parents didn't care if I paid attention to my schoolwork. Reynolds said Iowa's joining 20 other states in providing tailored, common sense labor provisions that let minors develop skills in the workforce. And I get it, skills in the workforce are something that are needed. But, there's so much more that's needed before you can actually just make yourself out to the workforce. There's a lot of bullshit that's out there that you really can't see until you actually make it into the workforce. In Iowa, we understand that there's a dignity in work and we pride ourselves in a strong work ethic, Reynolds said in a news release. Instilling those values in the next generation and providing opportunities for young adults to earn and save to build a better life should be available. Child welfare advocates worry that the measures represent a coordinated push to scale back hard-won protections for minors. The new law would let 16 and 17-year-olds work in areas such as manufacturing as long as it was in a work-based learning program given an exemption by the Iowa Department of Education, the Iowa Workforce Development. Those jobs could potentially mean that teens would operate power saws or join in demolition. It also allows teens over the age of 16 to sell and serve alcohol in restaurants while the kitchen remains open as long as business hours have written permission from workers, parent, or guardian. 2 adult employees would need to be in the area where the child served drinks, and restaurant employees would need to complete uh, harassment prevention training, Democrats argued that easing the rules would put teens at harm or in harm's way and distract them from school and extracurricular activities, while the bill's backers maintained that it would provide greater job opportunities. The new law allows 14 and 15-year-olds to work 2 additional hours per day when school is in session, from 4 hours to 6 hours. So, as opposed to just working a very minimal part time job, you actually can work up to an actual part time job while going to school. They're also able to work until 9 p.m. during most of the year and until 11 p.m. through June to Labor Day, 2 hours later than previously allowed. 16 and 17-year-olds are now permitted to work the same hours as an adult. Now, I kind of disagree with the 11 o'clock. Child should not be working until 11 o'clock at night. No way that your child should be out until 11 o'clock at night. Do you remember back in the day, or you might not remember? I remember back in the day there used to be a thing on the TV that would go off at 10 o'clock at night. Do you know where your child is at? Because they wanted your children in the household by a certain time of night. Now you're going to have 16 and 17-year-olds working until 11 o'clock, getting in the car after going through school all day, working and driving their asses home to actually go lay down for a minimal amount of hours before they would have to get back up to go back to school. That's
I mean,
not
this just sounds like another whole like corporate whoring from the Republican side, the rhino people who, you know, who would rather your kids be like a servant and a slave of some mega corporation from younger and younger ages. I mean, it's kind of sounds like what this is to an extent. I mean, I get their argument of like, oh, well, it'll help them develop skills and jobs and things or whatever. Well, we have trade schools. And also, if you want, I mean, if there is some kind of, like, well, we'd like them to be able to work a little more in different job areas or whatever for longer hours for getting more experience and getting more money underneath their belt and stuff. Well, then I haven't heard anything from Iowa, and not to say that they haven't, but I haven't heard anything from them changing their educational system to allow for different things to happen. Because if you recall earlier in American history, I mean, people used to work on farms. This is why we have the summer off for school, is because that's the growing season. And you had to be out in the fields. You were out in, again, it was the warmer seasons of the month. And so this is when the farms were kicking off and going crazy. And so everybody was home taking care of what needed to be taken care of, doing things. And plus, obviously, you need a break from schooling to be able to do things. And what better time to do things than when it's warm enough to do a lot of things outside and inside. So that's why it just makes sense overall to do that. But now it's just like, nobody does that anymore. And so it's just like, well, okay, we want kids to start working again. Okay, fine. Working what? What hours? Like, how are we going to do this? Because we don't want these mega corporations to exploit minors because they don't know any better. I mean, that's just as bad as some mega corporation of like doctors or quote unquote doctors or like surgical people being like, oh yeah, your kid wants to come in to mutilate themselves because they think they're a girl or whatever. That's fine. We'll allow them to do that. It's like, well, and then they're going to make all this money off of it. I mean, it's kind of like this. It's like, well, your kid wants to go off and work a job. Well, they can do that, Now, I'm assuming that there has to be some amount of parental permission for a lot of this stuff, unlike the trainee stuff. But you can kind of see where this might be going, where it's just like, sacrificing your kids on the altar of the mega corporations because, ooh, the almighty dollar. It's like, well, I mean, that's not good. But, like I said, I do understand the whole, we want kids to have more work experience. It's like, well, okay, but there's ways to do that. And I'm not entirely sure, based upon what we're reading here, if this is going to do that, because there needs to be a whole other shift of things, especially, like I said, in the education system, to even allow for this. Exactly. And then as well, again, like I said, they're minors. Like, are you to what extent is this going to go? Do they have to have their parents' permission to do certain things? Like, how exactly is this all going to work out? What are all the details for that? So, but this does sound an awful lot like corporate whoring from the rhino side of the aisle of like, oh my God, we love the corporations. They give us all the jobs. It's like, I mean, okay, yeah, but I mean, how much of this is going to be like these jobs, like abusive to people, and like you can't do anything else but work for the mega corporation. You don't have any independent wealth. Like there has to be a lot of other societal changes. You just can't simply throw things out and just be like, oh yeah, we want this. Like everything's going to work for it, because it's not going to do that. And so there might be some good meaning people behind some of this, but I think that a lot of this is probably corporate interests. A lot of this is most likely corporate interest. But Conservative Inc. is going to like this a lot.
Yeah.
Because again, incorporated. Ha, ha, ha. Anyway.
Right. So this is, as the bill made its way through the state legislature, opponents of the measure argued that it could not only endanger the safety of children, but would also target teens from lower income and minority backgrounds. However, proponents said the bill did not require any child to work and pointed to provisions that eliminates exemptions previously allowing children under the age of 14 to work, including selling newspaper and other items door to door. So now, I never really counted it as a job. I really didn't, because it wasn't just me. It was me helping my older brother when he was unavailable and actually doing his paper route for him. Being 3 years younger, I remember walking the route at the age of 8 without an issue. It wasn't a concern. It was never a big concern at all to have an 8-year-old delivering a newspaper in the neighborhood. Everybody in the neighborhood knew who we were. Every single one of them. So the second they seen us walking down the street, they knew who it was that was actually out there delivering the newspaper.
Now people don't know their own neighbors.
Safe. Right. Now you don't even know your exact neighbor.
And of course, they've created the culture of like everybody has to get up and move to God knows where all the time, every day, all the time. And there's no familial roots. There's nothing. Nobody has any roots anywhere. Everybody's just shape-shifting their whole life and their whole schedule and everything else for the sake of the mega corporations. I mean, it's basically, and so you don't have your own life. You don't have your own ancestry. You don't have your own history. You're just tied to the corporation till you die, slaving away. Like that's basically what this is. And I do agree. I mean, either Mike O'Hagan says like, I agree. This is the impression. I get of this, like kids should be learning how to be individuals, not drones. I mean, exactly. Like if you want a child to learn how to work and how to do things, have trade schools. There used to be where in America you went up to, see, this is the thing. There'd have to be a whole shift in this kind of stuff. And earlier, what we did was you went from grades 1 through 8. You learned everything you needed to learn about civics, government, mathematics, history, everything from grade 8. And then after that, you could go to what was called the academy. And that was where you could learn specialist different things. And that would have been like the equivalent of high school type of deal. High school level would have been the academy. So you were done with general education. So there's no more need for general education of like, hey, let's learn some more mathematics. Like, no, you already knew everything. Now let's go to the academy. What do you want to do? What job do you want to do? What's this? What's that? What field? Let's work with this machine. Let's work with this typewriter. Let's work with this thing or whatever, right? And then there was the higher level, which was the university. And then that was for more education, more specialty, doctoring, possibly like, lawyering and, other different things of that nature, very, very more specialist type of things that took, lots of research and, essays and other different things like that as you went up the ladder. So like, if you want people to do stuff, like learn how to do hands-on work, then parents can teach their kids these things, but we also have, trade schools as well nowadays. But I'd like to see, things of early American education come back. I think it'd be better than what we have now. Something along those lines. Children are so uneducated and stupid. But yeah, like, I mean, as Michael Haig said, right? I mean, like, you're going to just teach a child to be a drone in school and a drone for the mega corporation. I mean, isn't that what schooling is nowadays? It's just like, the bell rings and, oh, now it's time for lunch. And then, oh, now you go back to this thing or whatever. Like, it's all about the corporations. Like, everything's about the corporate job. Like, schools used to be within the church. Everything was within the church. The church was the center of the community. And then everybody would have their schooling there. Everybody would attend church there. Everybody would do that. Now it's its own separate entity, and it's federal funded, and you can't do anything with anything religious at all. You can't have any morality, and then everything is just training you to work for the mega corporation or go into this stupid college degree, waste all your money, then go work for some mega corporation or go work for someplace else. Like, it's just total, it's just destroying the whole landscape of our children.
Right. Exactly. So then, it says Reynolds has been a proponent of expanded youth employment opportunities. Last year, she signed a bill that lowered the minimum age requirement to provide unsupervised care to school-aged children in child care facilities to 16. Meanwhile, legislators in Wisconsin, Ohio, and Iowa are actively considering relaxing child labor laws to address worker shortages, which are driving up wages and contributing to inflation. Employers have struggled to fill open positions after a spike in retirements, deaths, and illnesses, decreases in illegal immigration, and other factors. The job market is one of the tightest since World War II, with unemployment rate at 3.4% and the lowest in 54 years. Under the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act, students aged 14 and 15 can only work until 7 p.m. during the school year. Congress passed the law in 1938 to stop children from being exposed to dangerous conditions and abusive practices in mines, factories, farms, and street trades. So it's kind of sounds like they're trying to actually go back on the Fair Labor Standards Acts that was already there federally, and actually switch it to the way each state wants it, allowing children at the, like I said, I worked at a young age. At the age of 14, I got a legit job. So I mean, it wasn't a big deal for me, but at the same time, I wish I wouldn't have had to have actually done such a thing, and actually would have been able to just pay attention to my schooling and what was going on there with extracurricular activity, because I didn't have extracurricular activity because we couldn't afford it. We couldn't afford it. Even though I was working my own job, I couldn't afford to do that because I had to actually do the job. I couldn't do the extracurricular. Freaking Lord. This kid decided to actually wake up right now, of all times, 11:30 at night. That's awesome. So exciting. Are you with me?
Who?
You. I got to stand up
Me?
for a minute.
Oh. Well, I mean, I don't disagree with, the labor, some of these labor laws. I mean, a lot of this is very good because you don't want children again to be exposed to dangerous work conditions, abusive work environments, and things, because crazy adults working for the corporations want to basically enslave your children. But hey, they get paid some, right? But yeah, somebody's going to say, this is a commie thing or whatever. No, this is a populist issue. We don't want, and this is something that Teddy Roosevelt did a lot of during the Progressive era, in a quote unquote the Progressive era. But that's what Teddy Roosevelt was famous for doing. That's why everybody loved him, was trying to stop the abuse from all these mega corporations and things of America and her people. And everybody loved him and still loves him up until this day with Teddy Roosevelt. However, FDR was not so much in that ilk, unfortunately. People wanted to believe that he was, but he wasn't. for sure, and everything he did spoke for it.
I'm gonna.
Oh
have
yeah,
to
Mimsy,
skip
exactly.
around.
China's the model, right? Like, China has all of these slave houses for their undesirables in their society, and then everybody else just slaves away some other way, but they're all slaves to some crazy communist government. I mean, yeah.
Watch next. They'll be like, you can only have 2 children or something, because
Oh yeah.
the
I mean, they're already restricting
let's
meat
go along with
consumption in New
everybody
York City.
else's bullshit.
Right. I mean, they're going to be doing all this stuff. I hope everybody realizes that, unless we do something about it, with our own minds and heads and our ballots, and we actually do something, they're going to try and force us into that kind of society. So we better get our acts together, ladies and gentlemen.
I really did a lot more research today than what I expected to actually go through. I really thought I was going to get through a lot more. Here you go. There's a couple of things that are left on that headline or whatever in this next half hour. EU threatens to ban Twitter. Platform has until August 25th to comply with the bloc's new disinformation law. Twitter is banned across EU if it fails to abide to the new regulations in fighting disinformation. French Digital Transition and Telecommunications Minister Jean-Noël Barrot said on Monday, the warning comes from European bloc's Digital Service Act is due to fully take effect on August 25th. Disinformation is one of the gravest threats weighing our democracies, Barrett told France Info Radio. I hope that Twitter complies with the European rules by August 25th. Otherwise, it will no longer be welcome in Europe. Twitter, if it repeatedly doesn't follow our rules, will be banned from the EU. The DSA mandates that search engines and large platforms such as Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok enact measures to mitigate disinformation or election manipulation, cyber violence against women, or harms to minors online. The European Commission can fine offenders up to 6% of annual worldwide turnover. EU Internal Markets Commissioner Thierry Breton announced last week that Twitter had pulled out of the bloc's voluntary code of practice on disinformation, but obligations remain. You can run, but you can't hide, Breton said, adding to the DSA's terms, while we'll be ready for enforcement when the compliance deadline expires in August. Billionaire Elon Musk, who acquired Twitter last year, promised to rid the platform of disinformation and hateful content, but also upheld the freedom of speech and offered more transparency. This platform is hell-bent on being the least untrue source of information, Musk wrote on Twitter in early May. At the same time, earlier this month, Twitter fulfilled the Turkish government's request to restrict access to some accounts in the weeks leading up to the presidential and general election of the country, which I did cover yesterday. Erdogan actually, took the seat yet one more time for another 5 years, counting up to he's already done 20. So just another couple of years, no big deal. Musk defended the decision by saying that he wanted to avoid Twitter getting shut down entirely in Turkey. We can't go beyond the laws of a country. If we have a choice of either our people going to prison or we comply with the laws, we will comply with the laws. So, it seems as though, Twitter needs to actually, do what the EU wants and go along with their will. Otherwise, no longer will Twitter be available in the EU. Now, Twitter, I don't like Twitter. I don't really care for Twitter. Yes, I do use Twitter on a random basis. But as far as Twitter goes, it's junk. It's something that shouldn't necessarily need to exist. and it's ceasing to exist in the EU, might be okay, depending on, as long as they do the same thing with the likenesses of like TikTok and any other. I might be okay with them actually, trying to limit quote unquote disinformation being spread around EU.
And I don't really think this is going to come about either, because good old Elon Musk, the defender of the faith of freedom in America, quote unquote, right, wearing his Satan costume, telling us all that he's going to oh, he's the fighter of free speech, and oh, look, I have this musket pistol and a picture of George Washington that I totally didn't just buy yesterday, because I totally just didn't spend $1,000 just like buy all this stuff up for just keep it here beside my bed, because I'm totally not being fake right now. And so this guy then hires a WEF stooge literally on the chair of the World Economic Forum to head up Twitter in his absence of being the CEO. So watch, because she's in control. It's like, well, it's okay, because she'll do those things and she'll do X, Y, and Z. So we, the EU, won't actually ban it. It'll be okay.
Nick says, who decides what's information or not?
That is not up for you to understand.
Don't ask such a question.
You're a
person.
pleb. You don't get to understand. It's whatever the elite tell you it is.
So then okay. That one's an easy one. So the last one that I have actually marked is the legal shrooms in California. So we do have a little bit of time. We can kind of hit on some of these other ones potentially. I think we need to hit on this lady in particular. It's very disturbing how far she's gone, and why they still allowing her to actually be the person that she is. Here you go. Dianne Feinstein. Senator Dianne Feinstein returned to work, marked by increased dependence on staff. This says a report.
Oh my God, Dianne freaking Chinese agent asset Feinstein. Holy crap.
And the thing is they were actually looking at potential. You know who this girl is that's sitting next to her? Do you know who that is?
Well, it's somebody who's 800 years old younger than her, or whoever it is.
I'm pretty sure that's the same person that they pointed out last week as being the main contributor to whatever Dianne Feinstein needs, would be a niece of Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, Nancy.
Oh, yeah.
Nancy.
Yeah. Nothing to see here. No
Nancy
big deal.
has plenty of people around.
So it says Democratic California Senator Dianne Feinstein's return to the U.S. Senate following those month-long absence has reportedly been marked by the increased dependence on congressional staff, doing little to silence critics calling her aging legislature to resign. Since her return to Congress early in May after a bout with shingles, Feinstein had been surrounded by a company of aides who, in addition to carrying out her typical duties, offer assistance to the senator by pushing her wheelchair and prompting her when she gets confused. The New York Times reported Sunday, in addition, the aides worked to keep Feinstein, 89, shielded from reporters and photographers, asking members of the press to keep a respectful distance from a California lawmaker, according to the outlet.
Now, I wanna be clear here. So she was battling with shingles. Like,
Shingles.
is this like shingles from a roof, or is this shingles
No,
from
shingles? Shingles. The next stage after chicken pox.
Oh, those shingles.
Those
Oh, okay.
shingles, yes.
So she wasn't like battling roofing shingles
She
falling
was
on top
she
of her
was
head.
severely ill and laid up, was unable to actually do her job.
As you can tell, I don't have a lot of respect for this creature. I mean, woman. So you know.
Yeah, just another swamp creature. Nothing to see here.
Correct. Yes.
Though Feinstein's return is marked by increased scrutiny over her failing health and memory, concerns over the senator's memory have already been an issue for years, requiring more support from her aides than any other member of Congress, according to New York Times. In 2022, Feinstein reportedly voiced her confusion when Vice President Kamala Harris presided over the Senate to cast a tie-breaking vote, allegedly asking her peers within the chamber, "What is she doing here?" Doesn't even know why Kamala Harris is there. The president of the Senate has no clue why why she's actually there. That's so fucked up. When you don't realize who the president of the Senate is and why they're there, kind of really makes you wonder why she's being allowed to actually supposedly function during right now. I mean, she should maybe just be replaced temporarily until the sad thing is who they would actually temporarily replace her with could potentially be that person that you've seen on the screen above.
Well,
Pelosi's
I mean,
niece.
maybe
Which would-
she's kind of like letting it slide. Like, why is she here? You mean like they won allegedly, maybe, of course, because potatoes always win what? I don't know. What are we talking about? Who?
Right. So more recently, Feinstein denied the May 18th report in the New York Times, claiming that Senator's battle with shingles had resulted in further struggle with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome and encephalitis. Feinstein allegedly told reporters that she had merely suffered from a bad case of the flu before her spokesman, Adam Russell, released a statement confirming that she had indeed suffered from encephalitis, but that the situation had resolved itself, according to New York Times. Symptoms and complications with encephalitis can include ongoing memory or language problems, sleep issues, confusion, mood swings, headaches, and difficulty with certain movements.
I know she has a lot of language problems. She'll like slip in and out of Mandarin just like for no reason at all. It's kind of weird. She'll just be talking in English and then she'll like slip into Mandarin for a while. It's like, oh wait, you're not my Chinese agent that is talking to me. Crap, sorry, I forgot.
Mimsy says, haha, shirts, you get shingles if you've had chicken pox in the past. You can get shingles if you've had chicken pox in the past. Not everybody gets the shingles. It's one of those things that if you had chicken pox, you'd get shingles if you ever got that, again. Whereas if you didn't have chicken pox as a kid or ever, you'd get chicken pox, which is very, very dangerous as an adult to get chicken pox. That's why usually when children have chicken pox, they usually say, "Oh, look, we have chicken pox," and you hold a party with other kids so all the other kids also get chicken pox. That's how that works, right? Oh,
Allegedly.
we're telling American Shirt something that he doesn't know. That's fun.
I mean, I know people have done that before in the past.
Yeah, that's pretty much how that usually works. Is chicken pox is best to be had while you're a child, and not as an adult. If you do get the disease back as an adult after having chicken pox, then you come up with shingles.
While Feinstein reportedly relies heavily on the aides to carry out her congressional duties, they are not the ones calling the shots. Former advisor to Barack Obama, David Axelrod, told the New York Times they
Oh,
have
God.
responsibility to give her brutally honest counsel and then adhere to her wishes as she and not they were elected. Axelrod reportedly said, and they have an obligation to help her meet her own responsibilities to her state and the office.
Kind of like Joe
Despite-
Biden, in a way, if you think about it.
Kinda.
You know,
Kinda.
old creature, Chinese asset. You know, it makes sense.
Despite calls from the members of her own party to resign, Feinstein had insisted that she is capable of carrying out her duties and her term, which expires in 2025. She announced in February she has no plans to run for re-election after serving 30 years in the Senate, but intends to stay for the remainder of her term in the 118th Congress. So, no thoughts of actually, stepping down on any of it. She wants to actually see herself through the rest of this current session, part of this current Congress or whatever, and actually finish the term out, which would end in January 2025, right along with the rest of, Congress being switched to the 119th. Which can be okay, but it's going to be another seat that we will be paying attention to over and over again, because it's something that we really need to pay attention to. It's California. I mean, kind of need to pay attention to that.
Also, it kind of sounded like in the beginning she was like, well, why, what in the world is Kamala Harris doing? It really reminded me of something else that happened at one point, when Joe Biden was on TV and
Secondly,
started talking.
we're in a situation where we have put together, and you guys did it for our President Obama's administration before this.
Oh, really?
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Oh, that's interesting. Anyways, I mean, it's a television.
Right?
It's totally cool. It's fine. Dianne Feinstein's like, why is Kamala Harris here? Joe Biden's on TV saying things. It's just how, he's just he didn't get his oatmeal. He didn't get his oatmeal in the morning on time. It was an hour late.
I got a child looking at me trying to ask me questions, and I have no clue what he's asking me.
Whatever you do.
Then hide. I don't care. All right. Okay.
Elizabeth says, hello, dear Americans. Your day is akin to our Anzac Day. Anzac Day. What is that? And where are you from, if you don't mind asking? Now I'm curious. Am I still here, by the way? Did I get cut off? No, I'm still here. Okay. Never mind. I thought I got disconnected. National Day of Remembrance in Australia and New Zealand on April 25th. Oh.
This kid.
It would be like that. It would.
He's like, I want to hide. So put a blanket over him so that we can hide. Weird.
Tell him that he can do that in bed too, right? Like, go slip into bed and then hide the blanket.
Well, that's what he's doing.
His head, right?
That's what he's doing. He's hiding on the bed because he wants to actually hide. He's hiding under the blanket.
Under the bed or under the blanket?
Fall asleep on the bed. So fall asleep again. Go ahead. Go ahead. Fall asleep again. That's what's necessary. We are actually down to the last, few articles here. I think we can actually push this through and actually get a couple of interesting thoughts. Here you go. How do you feel about this? Toddler jailed for life in North Korea after parents caught with Bible.
Makes sense.
A 2-year-old child, and the toddler's entire family have been sentenced to life in prison in North Korea after the parents were caught with a Bible in their possession. The parents of the young child were sentenced to death. According to the U.S. State Department, the 2-year-old infant and other family members were sent to grueling prison camps. The brutal punishment comes after far-left totalitarian North Korean regime continues to execute, torture, and imprison religious worshipers. According to new International Religious Freedom Report by the State Department, as many as 70,000 Christians were currently imprisoned in North Korea. The finding underscored the brutal punitive measures routinely doled out by the supreme leader, Kim Jong-un. Anyone caught with a copy of the Bible in North Korea faces the death penalty, while their families, including children, are sentenced to life in prison. The right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion in the DPRK also continues to be denied, and no alternative belief system tolerated by the authorities. Gores wrote that in the situation in North Korea has not changed since the 2014 Human Rights Report, which found that that authorities almost completely denied the rights to freedom of thought, conscience, or religion, and found that the government frequently violated violations of human rights that constituted crimes against humanity. So it kind of goes into some coofness or whatever on top of it, whatever. But really, government's just going to be like, prison forever for the rest of your life because your parents decided to actually do something like actually try to practice their own religion. You think that it's bad here? Just imagine going there and actually dealing with that, such a thing.
Well, that's what they want here.
Again, we're going to kind of pop through this last 10 minutes here real fast because, kind of have to. Eric Adams signs weight discrimination bill into law, says body type is not connected to health.
So the dude that restricts you from eating meat in New York City now wants to tell you that it's okay. What, like your doctor can't tell you you're morbidly obese, you need to lose weight, or you're going to die because Eric Adams is a part of the NWO-WEF death cult that wants to depopulate the planet, I suppose, is what you tell us? Because it's kind of what it sounds like.
What's up, Elizabeth? Good to see you, dear. But yeah, this guy, he's just ridiculous on his thoughts on that. So on Friday, New York City, Eric Adams signed a bill that outlawed discrimination based on the height and weight when it comes to employment, housing, and public accommodations, which it obviously, discrimination against any
what
of
the
that
freaking crap? Like,
anyway.
I mean, what if there's a land whale that is around with 2 legs for whatever reason? These whales have legs. I don't know how that happens, but like these amorphous blobs walk around. I mean, like some of these people, I mean, think like you're like 800 pounds, like the floor can't sustain all of that, whale flubber all around you. Like it can't sustain that. It's going to crack. You're going to fall through 18 floors to the bottom and kill everybody in your path. Like, it's just not, you can't do that.
You can't live on the 10th floor.
No.
You can't. If you're over 400 pounds, don't work.
I mean, if your bed has to be the size of a child's small bedroom or nursery, just for you to be able to get in. And that's just the edges. Like, we're not talking the actual, like, everything else to go along with the bed, like the iron, you know, stakes and rods and things that have to go everywhere to, like, hold you upright. I mean, you know, we're not even talking about that. Like, if you're that large, I don't think you should be on the 10th floor. I mean, dear God, like in New York, like they put up like freaking parking garages, and they made like these parking garages out of like old, decrepit, like apartment buildings, and that thing was like collapsing because like there's too many cars. It's like, well, what if there's a person the size and weight of a car? Like you just can't do that.
Well, let's hope that they're not weighing a ton, because if you weigh a ton, maybe, just maybe, though Adam says that science has proven that being fat is not connected to being unhealthy, you just might still be a little bit unhealthy.
And this so said that you should stay 6 feet apart. That you're near each other.
Adam said, I'm a person that believes in health. So when you talk about not discriminating against someone because of their own body type, it's not fighting against obesity. It's just being fair. So I think this is the right thing to do. We're going to continue to talk about our progressive health agenda. Science has shown body type
AKA
is not connection to any of your healthy or unhealthy. And I think that's a misnomer we are really dispelling.
Which, in other words, it's, hey, listen, if Bill Gates wants to eat his garbage, then we're going to feed you poisonous garbage. And of course, some people will be like, oh, well, in New York, they like cut back the size of like, you know, the corn syrup drinks and whatever. It's like, oh, yeah, sure. But like, they're also cutting back meat. They're telling you that being fat is being healthy. Like, I mean, in comparison to the one thing versus the multitude, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious where the agenda is moving here. They don't want you to be alive, obviously. They would rather you be some amorphous blob that's going to die at the age of 20. As Joe Biden said himself, he thinks of himself no more than the age of a fly. Well, that's going to be the age of most people in New York if they get what they want. It's just no older than a fly. And then like, oops.
So this is Faux News reports that the bill tasked New York City's Commission with Human Rights to investigate complaints concerning height and weight, in addition to their current ability to investigate complaints over age, gender, and race when it comes to employment, housing, and public accommodations. Joseph Borelli, the Republican New York City Council minority leader, told the New York Times that the law would allow New Yorkers to sue anyone and everything. Borelli added, I'm overweight, but I'm not a victim, Borelli said, according to the Daily Mail. No one should feel bad for me except my struggling shirt buttons. Per the city's website, New York City Commission on the Human Rights Commissioner and Chair Annabelle Palma explained, most forms of appearance-based discrimination have persisted unchecked. The New York City human rights law now makes clear that no one should be denied an opportunity based on height or weight of employment, housing, or public accommodation. As we have done for decades, the Commission looks forward to working with all stakeholders to cultivate an equitable city for all. According to Daily Mail, one of the bills sponsored by Councilman Sean Abreu, who gained a whopping 40 pounds during the Koolfrogg lockdowns, said putting on that much weight made him understand the silent burden of weight discrimination. The bill passed 44-5 on Thursday. So, you know, they went ahead and they passed the bill through New York saying that it's okay, you know, you can't discriminate on, you know, age, size, weight, height, or any of that, which I agree with. Okay, you know, you shouldn't really discriminate against somebody because they're fat. But you goddamn right, if you're that fat, get the fuck off your goddamn butt and go for a walk. If you can't go for a walk because you're too big, you've gone too far. You've gone way too far. You're beyond the term of healthy. I don't care what this guy says. Science says that you're overweight. Science is going to actually still say that you're unhealthy. Science doesn't often change because your opinion says, well, I don't think that that's true.
Oh,
I think
but
that we
I think that it does actually, because I'm Dr. Faucisms. I am the science, and everything I say goes.
see Suzanne? You see Suzanne there? I've heard this from her before. America's shirts. My boy is 14 years old, 6'2", 300 pounds, and the doctors refuse to say that he's obese or overweight. They're all on some sick fat agenda. So F it. I put him on a diet and an exercise program. That's just a big dude. At the age of 14, 6'2". Holy man. He's only 14, so he's not fully grown. He's not done growing at the height of 6'2". No way that he's done growing. He's
Get
just
off
going to
Bill
be a
Gates'
big dude.
GMOs. Get onto as organic as possible, and growing things yourself would be.
Like she said, that she's got him on a diet and exercise program. So I mean, then she says, "Step away from the cheesecake, dude." Yes.
Oh, by the way, also it was interesting earlier. They were like, she also said, she's not an a-hole because if she sees an abused person getting on the elevator, she's getting the F off, and then is no, I'm the same way. She's being safe. I mean, their fat could envelop you, and they could like absorb you into their body, or they could just like outright eat you. I mean, like you just need to be safe, and like somebody like that gets on, walk away, because they might think you smell like fried turkey, like freaking. What was that? What was that episode of Seinfeld when, what's his face, the giant, the fat guy? What's his name? He starts to Kramer starts to smell like fried turkey because he's got like seasoning that fell on him and butter and grease and stuff, and like so he starts to smell like turkey, and then the fat dude who's always around, and I can't recall his name right now for whatever reason, and he's got the curly hair and the glasses. Newman, yes, Suzanne knows what I'm talking about. Newman, it's freaking Newman, and Newman finds him,
the name
and
just wasn't clicking.
He wants to eat him. That is what we're like. So play it safe. Like, they might think that you're a little extra greasy that day. They might try to take a bite. Like you might need to step back a little bit. So anywho's, hey, why don't we, since Eric Adams doesn't think that fat people are unhealthy and fat people, it's whatever, why don't we stick him with one of those amorphous blobs into an elevator and see what happens? That'd be an
right.
Like how fast is absorbed?
There's a couple articles left here. Let's look at that. Bloody Memorial Day weekend, Chicago style. 51 shot, 12 killed. 2-year-old girl found gun and shot herself. A 2-year-old. Every year it seems as though as Memorial Day is overshadowed with violence out of this blue city of Chicago. Over and over again. It doesn't matter who it is that's actually the mayor of the city at all. That matters zero. It just seems an overwhelming amount of people every single year, every single weekend are being unalived for absolutely no reason. And when you actually, and I'm not going to dig into the article because we really don't have the time to actually dig into it that far. I wanted it to be done already, but we're going to try finishing some of this stuff out. Thinking about it, 51 and 12, that's a lot. That's a lot of people to just being unalived for absolutely no reason. There's absolutely no reason that it needs to be this far. And them being Chicago, being one of those cities, one of those states that has super tight restrictive gun laws, is one of the worst.
Of course.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense whatsoever on why we continue to allow this to occur. Give citizens guns and see what happens the second that they got somebody shooting back at them. Second they got somebody shooting back at them, you damn well most of them are going to us and just be like, oh, damn, never mind. This one's kind of hilarious. Here you go. Indian official drains entire reservoir to find his lost phone. I'm just like, what the fuck? What did he seriously drained an entire reservoir to find his phone? So it says that this guy was swimming, bathing per se, loses his Samsung Galaxy S23 while attempting to snap a selfie. The phone plunged into the dam's 4-meter deep reservoir. Goes ahead, calls somebody to ask if he can actually pump a lot of the water out so he can actually get to his phone. Empties 2.1 million liters of water from the man-made lake over the course of 3 days. Finally obtains his phone and loses his job immediately.
Well, I'm not
Just
looking to
gonna go
move
empty
to India
this
anytime
reservoir.
soon, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know about you. Anybody want to move to India? Anybody?
If you do, just don't drop your phone in the reservoir and then go ahead and try draining it, as you might actually be looked at as being the next most silliest person on the face of the planet, thinking that, I should go obtain my phone out of the bottom of that reservoir because, it's not going to work anyway. It doesn't matter. Waterproofness or whatever, or water resistance only goes for so many minutes as well as so far into the water. It doesn't actually work that way otherwise. There's the bill to legalize psychedelic mushrooms advancing to California Senate. Bill to decriminalize hallucinogenic mushrooms. Leave that there. I'll pull that up in a moment. It cleared the California Senate May 24th, reaching a halfway point in the state's effort to legalize the drug despite increasing opposition of law enforcement and many citizens. There's already a couple of states like Oregon, Colorado that have already passed hallucinogenic mushrooms, and allowing them to actually be distributed and used in mass amount. I really seriously personally don't have a problem with them actually decriminalizing hallucinogenic mushrooms, but at the same time, way to go, California. Let's go ahead and let's do that. Let's go ahead and do that and allow that to actually become a thing. Nick says hashtag big mistake. That was for the phone in the water, I'm assuming.
Yeah, the lesson is don't move to India.
Yeah, don't move to India. Senate Bill 58, introduced in December by Scott Wiener out of San Francisco, said criminalizing drug use and possession does nothing but fill up prisons with people who are addicted. Oh, okay. Nothing to see here, folks. Don't worry about it. We'll just legalize it, or decriminalize it, and make it okay for people to actually walk around tripping balls on mushrooms. Sounds like so much fun.
I mean, right? Like, there's no kind of. I mean, I think the government does have a responsibility to protect its citizens from simply taking some sort of a thing. Like, for example, I don't know, like Bill Gates says this is a slice of bread, eat it, when it's like a bunch of crazy toxic horse crap that's barely food. But then it's just like, oh, but it's totally food. You should eat it, right? Like, I mean, the government has a responsibility to not just simply allow its citizens to be poisoned and to be drugged up by mega corporations who just want to take advantage of people and destroy things. You know, like, so, I mean, if this goes through, like, what are the implications of this? What are the specifics? What kind of things are they going to be allowed to be like, oh my God, like, look, it's mushrooms, feed it to your 2-year-old. Like, what what is this going to entail? Like, I don't know.
Right. I mean,
Like, are they going to be sitting there saying, like, the hallucinogenic mushroom is the, is the thing to, help everything, like you feel bad, you feel depressed, like let's take some hallucinogenic mushrooms, or like abuse it, or, tell you, like, the doctor starts to prescribe it when they shouldn't. Like, how is this going to, like, what are all of the things within the context of this? Not entirely sure. I mean, I have certain arguments for different types of other things, like marine, the devil's lettuce, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, how far are we going to, is there going to be any kind of...
Suzanne says mushrooms are bad, dude. I do stupid shit on shrooms. I buy houses in the middle of the night in another province, wake up 2 provinces away from where I started. Nah. Do mushrooms.
But California just says, let's start handing it out in the street and, like, putting it in
We'll
injectors.
just start handing out and see how many people start buying shit.
Right. It's like, I mean, like, what exactly does all of this entail? Is this like just simply saying, okay, we're not going to arrest you and throw you in jail because you looked at a mushroom bag? Or, like, like, what exactly is all of the implications of all this? Like, there's a little more, because I mean, for example, I like how Ireland does things, especially with food. Like, they passed a law here not too long, or well, actually, they enforced a law here not too long. They consider Subway sandwiches pastries. Like, by law, Subway is not allowed to advertise to you that they sell Subway sandwiches in Ireland. They made it law, if Subway is to come there, they have to entitle their sandwiches as pastry or pastry bread, because it has so much sugar and fake crap in the bread that it's a made-up pastry, just so that it's not false advertising. I wish America would have laws like this for their food and other products, right? So it's like, you go to let's say, like a CBD shop or like a THC shop, and it's like, hey, I want my fix or whatever. Like somebody wants to go and, like, get a cigarette, or like, oh, well, I want to go and get like a joint type thing. Well, are they going to tell you that, like, oh yeah, this is totally cool, and it's like this crazy, huge, doped up crap that's got all this stuff in it or whatever? Like, how exactly are they going to legalize this? How exactly is this going to... We're just going to let these people run amok with our society and, like, just start throwing this stuff out for free on the street? Or, like, how exactly is this going to work? That's my question with all of this. And I don't trust California Democrats to do anything decent with anybody. So,
Right?
Oh my God, what is this? I'm already feeling cringe.
So yesterday we kind of hit on, there was a couple climate activists that actually walked into a museum in DC and actually went ahead and spread paint all over the podium and glass, encasing the sculpture of the dancing girl age 14. You know what that is?
I have no idea what it is.
Okay, so there's a sculpture that, anyway, that was encased in like a glass case on a podium or whatever. These people walked in with paint. Anybody that was here last night would actually remember this potentially, of them actually destroying the podium
Potentially.
as well as the glass case that's encasing this art piece that's been around forever. So now
They're desecrating a female image. Oh my god.
well, you know, they
We're
didn't
all the
really
feminists.
desecrate the actual art itself. It was just a case that was encased that was encasing it, but it still gave them 5 years and $250,000 fine. So, you know, climate activists usually come around when it starts getting warmer out because, you know, they can handle the temperatures because it's warm enough to actually come around and do what they need to do. So these climate activists went ahead during this dance, came out. Watch what happens to the one that's actually holding the banner. It's so funny. And I got to turn the music down because it's actual, you know, copywritten music. But you see these two come out, right? You see them. You know, there they are. This one's holding the banner. This one's holding some weird powder substance or whatever, right? She throws the powder substance. He holds up the sign. You see, you really can't make out what the sign actually says, but these are climate activists for what it is. I maybe somebody knows what it actually says, can read it, but either way, what happens next is hilarious as the camera operator gets very upset with the situation.
Oops.
It goes, just go run into him.
God.
Boom.
Boom.
The camera
Leveled.
operator is like, nah. take
Leveled by
that
the camera
fucker
dude.
out. Just bam, takes him out. It's so funny because you can see, you know, shortly thereafter, you see all these people come running in the, you know, in the room to, you know, go and remove these people from the situation.
Those two
But
cringe
you know,
people are still dancing.
and they just keep dancing throughout the whole thing. They don't stop. But that camera boom operator just bam. Bam. It just made me laugh so damn hard. I'm like, this is a perfect way to end the show. It's a perfect way to end the show. We'll go away in a short few moments here. America Shirts had something that he actually wanted to share here.
Oh, well, you were
There
asking,
you go.
like, you know, why do we do this in Chicago? Why is this happening in Chicago? Well, I believe Lori Lightfoot has something to say about why things like this happen in Chicago.
Housing will be impacted by it. Planning certainly, and you pick the people to run those agencies and the deputies that are pledging allegiance to the New World Order, and the deputies that are pledging allegiance to the New World Order, pledging allegiance to the New World Order. And
okay.
Nice. Pledge
So
allegiance to
Beetlejuice
the New
told us
World
something.
Order. Hey Loki, good to see you, dude. This is fun fact: you can't get shingles if you've never had chickenpox and have been vaccinated against it, since shingles is a reactivation of it. Exactly. Tranny fluid, good to see you. Glad you're here. It's not. That's the point. Really not sure. Neil Redguard, burn, destroy any of the cultural artifacts, just like Mao's revolution. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mao
You
Zedong.
can
the
indeed
Yale
get shingles
brought
if
over
you've
by
had
Rockefeller.
chickenpox. That's the only way you get shingles, is if you had chickenpox as a child. Yeah, right. I mean, most of us were actually inoculated for chickenpox as a child, so that we didn't get a full, get the full version of, you know, said pox. You know, so I mean, kind of interesting.
Now all you need to do is get your jab. Get all the children their jabs. Line them up. And if you don't believe in the science, I am the science.
You are the science. All right.
I will
All
make
right.
all of you go to those camps they built.
Thank you all so very, very much for joining us here today. If you haven't done so already, please hit that like button for me. Share this out to the communities that you like to share it out to, so that way when you come back next time, you can bring your friends with you to actually join in the conversation. We do talk to our chat. We do read everything that comes through our chat.
What is a freaking chat?
Shirts
Nix is
AOC
like
voice 7.5 out of 10. Nix has been actually ranking you on every little voice that you've
perfect,
created tonight or used tonight. So,
perfect reaction.
is there a morning show? Yes, there will be a morning show.
Oh my
Waking Up
God.
with Koolfrogg and Talking Trash and Truth will actually happen at 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. That's 8 o'clock out there on the East Coast. We will be live in about 5.5 hours, give or take. I'm gonna actually see if I can't get this guy to lay down and take a nap with me, and we will be up and rearing to go on that. You can support here, or you can actually if you haven't already, just in case anything ever does happen, make sure you make yourself over to the Rumble side of things and actually check that out as well. We are live. It doesn't look like there's anybody that's been talking to us over there, so
Hey, he just called me a nobody.
well, I'm not seeing anything in chat, so as far as that goes,
What?
nobody.
I said hello.
Yeah,
I
at the
said
very
hello,
very beginning.
Rumblers. Yeah, I
Yeah,
chatted.
after about 10-15 minutes of conversation or whatever, things start disappearing over there.
Well, it still counts.
But you have to also remember that Great Liquor was over there with you, and we did say hi to Great Liquor as well. Do I need to say hi to you on Rumble if you're sitting right here with me?
Of course.
That's a little weird. That's a little weird, a little strange. But all right. Thank you also very, very much for being here tonight. Again, hit that like button for me. Share this out. Let people become rewatch if they can. Heidi says, "Thanks, guys. Good show. Thank you for being here. Glad you were here, Heidi. Love you also very, very much. Say goodbye."
Wait a minute. We didn't shill my website.
Oh, make sure you check out AmericanShirtsAreFirst.com.
Indeed, and with the discount code of Koolfrogg forgot to shill my website, you can send 15% on. No, just kidding. It's just Koolfrogg. You can save 15% on anything in the store. And again, ladies and gentlemen, the website does still look a little funky. I have yet to fix the images on the front page, but I assure you, it still works and functions as needed. Go there and grab yourself a shirt if you'd like to support me. And I also have my Rumble channel over on the Rumble. You can search American Shirts and you'll find it. I have videos
what
that
about
I will
me?
post occasionally. So there you go.
All right. Thank you also very, very much. We'll see you in the morning, and I will definitely be back tomorrow night for another episode of Shtick with Koolfrogg. Pay attention, because within the next few days, I'll probably do the next reading on the Durham report over on Locals. If you're not over on Locals, just another opinion.locals.com. You may actually miss that reading. I usually do make sure that my camera is on.
We're reading the Durham report.
Reading Durham report.
Yes,
Absolutely.
just to clarify what reading you're talking about. Anyway, some people might get the joke.
Somebody has to read it.
There's been so many, that hadn't read it that just maybe need to actually hear what it actually says. Locals.
Well, no, I was just saying what kind of reading it is.
The Durham Report.
Right, exactly. It's that. It's not the other. It's not the, cards. It's a report.
It is the Durham Report, an actual freaking book. The Durham Report.
It's blurry.
It's because of the background settings or whatever. The Durham Report. That is what is being read. Just saying. If you haven't done so already, make yourself over there. Check out that Locals. There is a code free to start that I had actually put out there. There's a couple different places you can find that. You can find it in the community tab, and you can also find it on Discord if you are in my server. Again, thank you all so very, very much. Oh, there you go. Loki says the activist sign says restore wetlands in Swedish.
See, I knew it was
Loki.
like some other kind of like.
Thank you.
I don't know, like Germanic or like Swedish type. I don't even know what the heck it was. Or not Swedish type, like Morse type or Scandinavian type. God, I can't even talk anymore.
All right. Thank you all so very much. Love you. See you in the morning.
Later, peeps.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.